Hello and welcome everyone to NorthStar community. Always glad to be here and appreciate you joining in and listening. And if we say something that's helpful to you, don't be afraid to share this with others because we know that there's so many people out here who so desperately need to get on the journey of recovery to get their lives back instead of living the life of being a prisoner to our addictions. And so anyway, we just appreciate you being here, and always make the assumption if you're you're listening because you're on the journey of recovery. And as we know, the journey to recovery is a difficult one. It's can be very painful at times. In fact, whether we like it or not, pain is usually the reason why we got started on recovery. Because let's be honest, if you weren't experiencing a lot of pain, you would still be living addictively. So the fact is, you're here because somewhere along the line, the pain of using, living addictively, thinking addictively, finally caught up with you, and you realized that your life was in shambles, it was unmanageable, and you weren't in control anymore. Big day when you can do that. And so it's good that you're here. So, again, just here to help support you, help give you some motivation to keep going, to help make things better for you so you can keep this journey going because it is worth it. And I was talking to a couple people after the meeting the other night, and I said, it really is exciting to see how many of us in our group are actually moving forward. It's a process. It's a process. It's a process. It takes time. It takes relapse. It takes knowledge. It takes awareness. All those things that make life that makes journey difficult. But it's so worth it, and it's so exciting to see. So, if you're on this journey somewhere, keep going. If you're here locally, come join us on Wednesdays and Fridays at 6:30. And so one of the subjects that we talk about a lot here is toxic shame. We could use some other language if we want to. We could say how guilt, even though we don't like to feel guilty, guilty is a positive thing because it tells us to stop doing things. If we feel guilty about things that we're doing, we will stop doing them. If we feel shame, it goes from becoming um, what about our behavior, and it turns into things about us that aren't true. I can make mistakes. I can be mean. I can be whatever. I can do lots of things. I can be lazy. I can be addictive in so many ways. And those are mistakes. And I feel guilt because I did this because maybe I harmed somebody in my own, maybe I projected my hurts onto someone else. I feel guilty for that. If I feel the problem is with shame is then I turn that into being that's all about me as a person, and that I'm just an abject failure. And so there's a big difference there. So the other language you hear us talk about is toxic shame versus shame. So you can use guilt for shame anyway. Don't want to complex this, but you can look at a couple ways. But we'll use the term shame and toxic shame. So shame is I made a mistake. Toxic shame is I am a mistake, and those are way different subjects. And so we just have to keep being aware of how the problem is our shame for most of us is deeply ingrained in our lives. We don't hear it, we don't see it, we don't know it. And the kind of the three tenets again of toxic shame is atrophy statements and thinking, meaning that we just beat up on ourselves all the time. We just aren't ever going to allow ourselves to enjoy life, feel successful. If we start feeling those things, then we will do something to sabotage that. Or we'll live with a lot of bravado and be off-putting and no one want to be around us. And then again, of course, then we blame everybody else. And then we get around to seeing how awful we are. And then you have never enough. We have this glass ceiling of never enough. If we get too successful, we'll sabotage ourselves. Or the other thing is then we expect mediocrity. It's hard for us to be successful because we don't believe we deserve it. We don't believe that we're okay to have that. And it's such a deadly condition. And like I say a lot of times, I feel like that's really what's keeping us addicted is our shame. So you got to remember again, for many of us, the reason we got into addiction was because of the abuse, the abandonment, the childhood neglect as children. And what we did was we declared war on ourselves, because as children we can't declare war on our parents. Now we may have really acted out and snuck out at night and drank too much and drove too fast and who knows all the stuff we may have done. But the fact is we were doing all that because we declared war on ourselves. Yes, we were angry at our parents for all their dysfunction too, but we really were more angry with ourselves. And so the idea of this is for us to keep seeing this, so that we can become aware that the war is over. We don't have to be at war with ourselves anymore. We don't have to be at war with our parents or who it was or our abusers, all those things. We can move on. But we have to understand what we're doing. And toxic shame is one it's so important to understand, because it just colors our life and it keeps us down and it keeps us from enjoying ourselves. You can be wildly successful with toxic shame. And the reason you're probably wildly successful is probably not the right reasons, because again, you feel like you have to do that to be loved or validated. But no matter what we do or how good we get with toxic shame, we're never going to feel good about it. We're always going to feel less than. We're going to feel that we could have done more. We were lucky. All those things that we do when we have toxic shame. And it's just so deadly. And it's the biggest thing to hear about toxic shame is it's not real. It's not real. But it sure feels that way. So a good question is, what beliefs do you have about you that keeps your toxic shame alive and well? And maybe a harder question is, what pleasure do you get from all the pain? What is it about toxic shame that's so appealing? We kid about this all the time in group about, Jesus gave us 2 commandments. He said one was to love God with all your heart and all your mind. Basically, get rid of anything in your life that's more important than God. I think toxic shame, we keep toxic shame in our life because we use that to keep us down, to keep us artificially unsuccessful, to keep us from loving ourselves, because we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to get hurt again. So we just keep ourselves locked down in mediocrity, never enough, and then, of course, all the negative things we say about ourselves. When we have toxic shame, our inner critic can be very, very busy and very deadly, and we don't even know what's going on. And that's why recovery is so difficult but so important, and why it makes life so much better eventually is when we start becoming aware that so many things we're saying about ourselves are not real. I mean, it's not real. You are wildly talented. You have DNA that's full of all the things you need to be successful. For many of us, our own parents were so broken and dysfunctional, we don't get to see the wonderful DNA they gave us. But think about all the things that we could be good at if we allowed ourselves to do it and we're comfortable with it. But toxic shame doesn't help us with that. It keeps us from wanting to be successful. So again, think about what are the beliefs we have inside of us that tell us that we're not okay. So I want to bring this up, and this can be a little shocking here, but I want you to hear, because I think it's important, and I'll tell you, and I'll talk about myself in a second. But Connor McGonigal, I can almost talk, wrote this. He says, "So yes, you really might be inadequate in real life. Your life has been a failure, and it's because all along you've had the same feeling of not being good enough, from the first issues in childhood through adolescence, school, work, and now. It's spiraled downhill to the point where the issue is not that you feel bad, but that you are literally bad. Your life is literally inadequate." I mean, that's a pretty tough thing to think about, but think about it just for a minute. What happens if maybe we are worthless? And I'm going to tell you about me that may help us. So toxic shame is deep-rooted inadequacy. Deep-rooted inadequacy. It's so toxic. It just tells us that it's not okay to be okay, that we have to always be feeling bad about ourselves. We always got to be feeling less than about ourselves. We always got to be feeling that other people are better than us. All those things, and we just pound on ourselves, um, and we just never get this feeling that we're okay just as we are. And it's so, we with toxic shame, we believe we're basically flawed. We're just we we're just not as good as everyone else. People are so much better off than us. And so we get into perfectionism. We get into these belief systems that if no matter what we do, it's never enough. And we can't really enjoy ourselves. And if we are successful, it's luck. If we're successful, it just worked out, whatever it is. And it gives us a sense of worthlessness. It gives us a sense of failing. It gives us all these things that just make it hard. And the key is what we have to start accepting is that we're human. Yes, we're going to make mistakes. Yes, we're going to do dumb things. Yes, we're going to be mean, but we're also going to do great things. We're also going to do loving things. And that's why we think living with gratitude is so important. And as we know in recovery, we can't turn the clock back. So a quote here is, it isn't what we have done or not done. It's how we are interpreted. It's how we have interpreted what we have done. And that's so important for us. So let's think about worthless for a minute. I know it's a painful thing, but you know what? We all are worthless at some levels. And I can use me for an example. If you put me in front of a computer and told me to navigate and get to a certain place, I can probably do that. If you told me to go inside and understand computer language and you have to sit there until you get it, I'm worthless. I won't ever know how to do that. Or at least in this time I will not. Could I become good at that? I don't know. Maybe. I've never done it before. So I'm worthless at that. I'm worthless if you put me in front of a car and said, um, fix the car, it's broke down. I would stand there and look at it. I might even have a flashlight in my lane and put a light on it. I wouldn't know how to fix it. I wouldn't even see it probably. So the harsh truth is, in many ways, we are all worthless in some ways. It's important to hear. I know it's almost like, I know you want to be like, what the, but the thing is, what we have to understand is everyone is worthless in some ways. We can't be good at everything, and we can't even be okay at everything. We don't know everything about everything, but dadgum toxic shame will tell us that we need to do that. So what do? We see ourselves as worthless. We don't think everybody else has those things, but just us. So we stop living. We stop trying. And then we get into these things about we're never enough, we're never enough, we're never enough. And we can always, we can always find someone. I can, I think about in a lot of sports coaching and competing, there's always someone better. There's always someone that's faster. There's always someone that can jump higher. There's always someone that can, in my role, can kick faster or smarter at it. But does that mean I'm worthless? With toxic shame, I would say yes to that. I would say I am worthless because that person, look at that person over there. They know how to do everything, right? And there are those people I always kid about. There's those people that truly are quite talented, and I always kid about. And then there's the rest of us. But see, that's a healthy because if I am so worried about keeping my toxic shame and just fighting it, or accepting it, then I can't accept the fact that maybe I am worthless in some things, and I just feel bad about myself in general, right? And so then the problem is, if I don't understand this, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I see myself as unattractive. I see myself as dumb. I see myself as worthless. But yet I'm so offended by such a statement, right? So what we have to do is sometimes is we just have some, think about this for a second. Think of the long line of poor decisions you've made because of your toxic shame, how you've limited yourself, how you've kept yourself down, how you haven't went out there and really tried and chased your dreams, all those things. And I'm not one, and make sure you hear me, I'm not one of those people that says, oh, if you think you can be a big time musician, well, go do that. The reality is you're probably not going to make it. It's just hard. Just like in my world of, like if I have students who'll say they want to make it to the Olympics. We're talking about 4 people in the United States will go to the Olympics in 2028. Now, yeah, I think, and so so what's the chances of that for everyone doing Taekwondo? They're not gonna. Most of them, the vast majority will never make it. There are some that are that good, but the problem is if we pursue things that aren't real, that's just another way of us beating ourselves up. If we pursue the concept, I'm going to get as good as I can. I'm going to put everything into it I can. We'll see where it takes us. I love doing this. That's why I'm doing it. That's a way different story than I got to be the best at this and I'm not the best. I suck. So you see how worthlessness really gets us, and then a long line of poor decisions take over, right? And it's just it's such a refree for me. What I finally realized was I grew up on a farm. Farmers are some of the most talented, smart people in the world. You may not believe that, but it's true. They really are. The risks they take, the hours they work, the dependence on weather, all those things. It's a beautiful life in many ways. Working on, and it truly is a beautiful life working in the fields, out in the weather, all those things. But it's not made for everybody. And I was one of those that just wasn't something I was interested in. That's all my dad ever dreamed of doing. My mother, that's all she ever wanted to do. Um, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I heard growing up that I wasn't good at it, which was true. But didn't mean I wasn't a good person. But what did I do? I took that and I turned it into I was inherently worthless, right? I turned into that I was lazy. I turned it into I didn't have talent. I didn't have skills. But I remember, like, it was kind of weird, but my junior year in high school, I started saying, I want to be a psychologist. I want to be whatever that even means. I don't know what that means really. And it was really weird. I got listening to, I'd order tapes, because back then that's what you had, tapes of Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung and um, um, Watson and all these guys. I just loved listening to them. Rogers, Skinner, all these guys. And I would just sit and listen to them. I'd be enthralled by this. But what was I saying to myself? I'm, I'm not smart. I'm not all these things. And the other thing they had too was I clearly had ADHD, which back then nobody knew what that was. I remember being so confused about some of my friends, how they were doing well in school and I wasn't. And it just, you can see how all this just, I was hearing at home that I was inherently flawed. At school, I was not doing well. Sports, I was doing pretty good, not great, but pretty good. That's what I cared about. But I also loved reading. I loved, again, think about it. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of cool as looking back at me as a sophomore, junior in high school and sitting down and listening to B.F. Skinner, Carl Rogers debates. I remember doing that. And I didn't get any support for that from home because they understood, how to plant corn and how to make it produce more and how to milk cows and how to get them to produce more milk. I just didn't want to know about it. And I'm sure some of course, was me rebelling, but some of that rebellion was based around how bad I felt about me. And it took me a long time, and in fact, probably until I really got on my journey of recovery, that I started to see that I wasn't so inadequate. I started to see I wasn't such a. I didn't have to live this little pile of insecurities, living this fake life, and looking happy on the outside but feeling terrible on the inside, and always questioning myself and what decisions I made. And the good news was I was pretty motivated to do some things right. I got a lot of education. I got a master's and a half after graduating from college. Um, those things, but my insecurities were pretty brutal sometimes, and they became factual in many ways, and made it hard to move on. And we don't. And so the toxic shame, if we don't do something about it, it becomes a lifelong, permanent thing that justifies our inadequacies. And I don't know. Thank God that I got to lead NorthStar and really start to understand myself. And so like I say, I always kid about, people talk about how NorthStar is helping them. I go, maybe helping you, but it's helping me more than any of you. And so we have to face this fact about this thing about worthless again. Ask me to go out and uh, do farming. I'd probably not be, at best, I'd be not very good at it. But the day that I understood what a catalyst means was the day that I was released from so much of my shame. When I realized the thing I love to be is a catalyst. I get more joy out of you winning a gold medal with me helping you and supporting you than for me to get a gold medal. I'm happier for you when you get your life turned around than if I get my life turned around. Does that make sense? I love being a catalyst. I love being that person, not necessarily doing this stuff, but helping others do this stuff. And when I figured that out, life became better. I finally realized, you know what? It's okay to be worthless in some areas because I am not worthless in all areas. And that's the key to this. You're not worthless in everything. But you're not good at everything, and it's okay. That's what we got to hear. Because growing up, all you heard was how flawed you were, how broken you were. Your dysfunctional families wreaked havoc on you. And as a child, you don't have the ability to understand what's going on, so you attack yourself. You can't attack the family system. Now, again, maybe when you get into a teenage, you did all that. But when you're 6 years old, you're declaring war on you. So this is why we talk about this all the time. We have to face our pain, which means we have to face our shame so we can let it go, because toxic shame is not real. It's not real. Shame is real. We do something wrong, we should feel bad about it. But toxic shame is not real. We do not have to live our lives believing we're never enough. We don't have to sit and beat ourselves up all the time so we won't take risks, so we won't go out there and do the right things, or that we won't be living with so much anger at the world and other people and ourselves mostly. We don't have to live our lives in mediocrity, whatever that means. You can see how toxic shame is just this horrible mixture of pain and misery designed to keep you down so you won't get hurt more. So I hope this makes sense to you. You know, it's all about faith. It's all about love. It's all about gratitude. Again, I saw on the Huberman Lab, I saw the guy, a famous psychiatrist on there, and he was asked, if he had to put a theme to who he sees as the happiest and most successful in life, he said, well, he thought about it for a while. He said, it's people who live with gratitude and people who have a purpose larger than themselves. So that's ritual, meaningful life, that we can actually live with gratitude. We can face our pain because of that, and we have a purpose bigger than our shame. And I know that sounds simple, but it's not. But that's what we're here for. That's what the journey is for recovery. And again, we believe in a higher power. You have to have a higher power to do this. And I think about, the Bible talks a lot about faith. And I like this. Norman Vincent Peale was quoting a guy, and he was talking about how you have to, overcoming your toxic shame. And he was talking about, if you can believe, this is in Mark 9, he says, if you can, sorry, just for a second here. That if you can believe, all things are possible to him that believeth in Jesus Christ. Our belief at the beginning of a doubtful undertaking is the one thing that ensures the successful outcome of our ventures. That's by William James, great psychologist. If you expect the worst, you release your mind the power of repulsion, which tends to force the best from you. It is amazing how a sustained expectation of the best sets in motion forces which cause the best to materialize. Anyway, lots of long words here, but if we expect defeat, we're not going to see victory. If we expect pain, disappointment, all those things, we're not going to get anything but that. And we just have to figure out ways to do that. And so the New Testament talks a lot about faith. So if you can believe, all things are possible through him, to him that believes, right? If you have faith, and this is faith in God, faith in Jesus Christ, nothing shall be impossible to you. According to your faith, be it unto you. So believe drives home the truth that faith moves mountains. So I hope we can see that. And a great quote here is, throw your heart over the bar and your body will follow. So I hope this helps a little bit. I hope you can accept the fact, guess what? You are worthless in some ways. And you know what? It's okay. That's what's important here. It's okay. But you're not worthless in everything. You're quite good at some things. And the only reason why you're not better at some things is because you're not allowing stuff to, because of your childhood life. Remember, I don't care about your childhood, but I do care about how your childhood affects you today. So we need to embrace our powerlessness, embrace the worthlessness. I say it with some humor. Embrace our worthlessness so we can move on and become good at the things we can be good at. Don't ask me to get up and sing a solo. There's people at NorthStar have beautiful voices. Get up there and sing solos. That's what we're talking about here. We all have our skills. We all have our aptitudes. We all have our knowledge. But let's free ourselves up to do that and quit trying to be great and perfect at everything, because it doesn't work. So I hope this helps you, and I hope that we can move forward and have that rich, full, meaningful life of calmness, active and engaged, being there for others. Always love this quote: I'm unsure of the future, but I'm not concerned. Not living in total abject fear of the future. I mean, we have to take care of things that's going on in our lives, but we don't have to live, because we don't know what's going to happen. Focus on the right things. Focus on the fact that God loves us, and be there for others, and to love and be there for others. That's what we're after. We can do this. We can have purpose. We can have gratitude. So thank you for joining me. I hope we can start seeing this journey to getting ourselves out of the toxic shame world and get into the world of a rich, full, meaningful life filled with love, happiness, connection, purpose, gratitude, good friends, healthier behaviors. We going on. People are starting to get it in NorthStar. Come join us. We'd love to have you. 6:30 on Wednesdays and Fridays. We have meals. We have childcare. We take care of as much as we can so you can come. So come join us. Don't be afraid. Don't shame yourself into not coming. All of us have had some major journeys in there, but we're getting there. So thanks again. Let's close with a prayer of serenity. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as a pathway to peace. Taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world